Hi and welcome back. In this third video we are going to create a background for our game. Before starting I want to show here the advancement of the game version. At the end of the last video I have saved it as 0.1.1. I have added the last one because rather than working on something totally new, we have continued to work on the bullet that we are creating in the first video. So it was just an advancement rather than a new feature. Since now we are going to work on something new, the version will advance and become 0.2.0. In this way you have a clear idea about the content of the file in case you have to go back in time and control all the version of your game. Let's start to work on our background. Click on Layer, Layer 0 and set the background color. At the moment it's white. We can select here some preset color or we can use these other preset colors here. Otherwise we can customize the color, we can insert the number if we have some precise value to use. In this case I'm going to use black because I want to give it the idea to travel during the night. Let's create our first background element. Now I'm going to show you how we can load quickly all the animation frames required for one single animation. So we just go here, right click, and we go to import frames from files. We select all of them this way and then we click on open. So rather than load one by one, we have done a bulk loading. It's faster. We delete this empty frame here. Let's give to all these buildings a proper origin point that will help us to build the background easily. They are in the middle as we set them to the bottom left. So we can place them if we want all at the same ground level. Click assign and we go here on bottom left. Okay, now we right click, apply to the whole animation and it's done. Another thing to do is to go to the speed and set it to 0. Otherwise being it all in the same object, it will start the animation with the first building, go through all of them and then stop to the last one. And all the buildings will end up to be the same. Now, another thing we have to do before I forget it as usual is to rename the sprite to buildings. Let's go here, rename buildings. Then we click the sprite with the left button and while keep it down, hold Ctrl and drag. It will duplicate the sprite this way. Then let's do another one. Okay, and let's start to prepare the background with a variety of buildings now. We can change the aspect of each of them going to the initial frame. Now it's 0 and that's why they are all showing the first building. If I set it to 1, it will show the second frame. So if I write 1 here, this second frame. If I write 2, we get the third frame. Remember that while doing coding in general, when I start to count, we start to count always from 0 and not 1. That's why we have to set it to 0 to see this first frame. So frame 0, 1 and 2. If we want to populate quickly the background, we can copy and paste these buildings here. But before I want to show you another thing. Since the game is in pixel art, we want to give to these pixels precise random coordinates to avoid the issue once the game starts. With the setting we have given to our project at the beginning, we shouldn't have a problem. But it is always good to do things properly. These positions here are not correct. So let's go here to snap to grid, and when we move the sprites around, they move from one cell to another to the grid. In this case the cells have 32 pixels side by side. As you can see, the building move it as if it's following a grid, and we can see the grid. Clicking here, show grid, and that's disabled now. We set our grid to 1 by 1 pixels so we can move freely but still keeping a precise position point for every item we place in the layout. The coordinates are always rounded. So let's put a building here. Let's adjust maybe a little bit the scenery. Okay, now as said before, I can select, hold Ctrl and drag as we did earlier, and so we can duplicate here. This is much faster if you want to create a small city, for example. So we just adjust a little bit for now just to see something. Now, as you can see, this building is on top of this other one here, but I want to put behind. How can we do it? Right click on it and we can see the Z order option. The Z order is the depth where the image stays, considering from our point of view. If I send it to the top layer, it will be on top of everything else that is on this layer. And while if I send it to the bottom of the layer, it will be behind everything that is on this layer. Okay, so let's put it at the bottom. Now it's at the bottom compared to all the other buildings. The problem appears when we start to move many buildings around to reorganize the background. The sprites start to overlap in a weird way because we haven't organized them properly. Unfortunately, with the free version of Construct 2, we cannot have access to the editor of Z order to set every single image one by one compared to all the others nearby. So you can see you have to buy the full version. So we have to do things in an ordered way to overcome this problem. So we try to put all the sprites that stay on the foreground first, and the others that we keep pushing back, or the other way around, as you prefer. It depends on the game you are building. For the moment, we leave them in this way, just to give an idea of depth to our city. So okay, let's do a little bit this way. Okay, now let's start the project to see how it looks like, and then we move around a little bit, and then we see here two problems. First of all, while moving the spaceship, it moves behind some buildings, and that's not really part of our plan. Then the other issue is that the spaceship goes outside the screen, or the buildings doesn't move outside the view. So there are two things to do for now. Let's click on the spaceship with the right click, Z order, send it to the top of the layer. It will be in front of everything now. Then we add to it a behavior that is a scroll to. From now on, the image will be centered directly on the spaceship and will follow it around. So let's try it to see. It's easier to see than explain. And as you can see, first of all, the spaceship is in front of all the buildings, and when moving around, the level scrolls without any difficulty. So this is very easy to do. Construct 2 helps us a lot to do things quickly. Let's go back here to our layout and let's create a new sprite. We'll need this sprite to have a different kind of visual. So we're going to create, let's be 8 by 8 pixels. It doesn't really matter since it will be invisible anyway. I usually do it in this way. So I just fill in here red and cut the middle part, just to identify better from another sprite on the scene. So it doesn't really matter what you are drawing. It will be invisible anyway. So I call it camera. Now we go to the camera and I give it the effect of I need to give the behavior, so we'll see later the effect. Scroll to active from start, enable, and while I go back to our plane and disable scroll to. Okay, then in the events, let's say that at the start of the layout, so the camera at action, camera, set position, that is here, pose. Okay, always use the shortcut. Set position to 128. That, if you remember, is the half of the width of the game window, and 72, that is half of the 144 related to the height. Okay, then let's create a new event here that says that every X seconds, here, let's say every 0.1 seconds, and what are we going to do? So let's click OK. So the camera, set X, just type X, this one here. Okay, so the position of the camera every 0.1 second will become what? X will become equals to camera dot X, that is the current value of the camera, plus 1. So every 0.1 seconds, the computer look at the camera and ask at what position is the X. At the beginning is 128, so at the beginning we will say to X 128 add 1, so the X will become 129 and the camera will move 1 pixel to the right. 0.1 seconds after, it will move another pixels to the right, and so on. In theory, we should be able to see the background scroll by itself. Let's see what's happening. So as you can see, the camera moves. I can still move the airplane around, and the buildings slowly move out the screen. The problem is that now the spaceship isn't anymore restricted to the game window, because the image isn't anymore centered on it. So we have to restrain it in some way. So let's go back to the event sheet and let's do two things. First, we say that every 0.1 seconds, when the camera moves, the player, so let's choose player here, so set position, set X, the X position of the player have to change, increasing by 1. So we press, we write here +1. Okay, oh no, sorry, my bad. I have to write player dot X +1. Okay. This will make the spaceship move automatically forward by 1 pixel, but we don't want this to happen all the time. So we add another condition and we add a sub event. From here we right click. Be careful to not click here but on this point, because otherwise they have different conditions. So on the external side, and we go to add the sub event. Okay, in this event we say that every 0.1 second to the player compare its X position, X compare X. If the X is smaller or equals than less than equals, okay, then camera.x, so to the position of the camera minus 120. We don't write 128 because we choose 120 to leave a little bit of margin. Okay, then what we do, let's drag this down and then move the player, forcing the spaceship to move 1 pixel forward. So we say that when we are here, if the camera is here, let's put it more or less in the middle of the screen. So if the player is compared to the position of the camera 120 pixel back on the x-axis, this is because if you haven't noticed yet, the origin coordinates of the layout starts here. So we have 0, 0 on the top left corner, and the x increases towards the right, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the y goes down in vertical, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So compared to the x of the camera going towards this direction, it will have a lower value. Camera.x minus 120, that more or less will be nearly next to the border. If the airplane is here or even more behind, force the airplane to move forward by 1 pixel. This will drag the airplane more and more forward until there will be less than 120 pixels of distance between the player and the camera. Now, another thing that we are going to do is to disable the default airplane controls. This is because we have to add more condition to the movement. And now we can create some customized controls for the airplane. We go on the keyboard, and then we say on key is down when the button is all down. Let's press the left arrow key. Okay. And then here we say to player. These are the options for the 8 direction behavior, and we have to choose a simulate control. So it will help to simulate the left arrow key when it's pressed to go to the left. Okay, and this will let us to recreate all the default commands, but will also let us add additional conditions. Let's drag to copy as usual, one time more for both. Okay, and now we just change the input and directions. So we go here, we press the right on the keyboard, and then again we choose right here, then we press the up key, done, then we choose up, and the last one is down, okay, and then down again. Okay, now we add another condition here, and we say to the computer to check the position of the player on the x-axis. Let's add another condition, player, we type x here, so it's easier, compare x, so we choose here greater than, okay, so if it is greater than camera.x minus 120, done. So in short, if we press the left arrow key and at the same time these two are together, it means that we have to be both true to be able to trigger the action. At the same time, the x of the player is bigger than the camera.x minus 120, or maybe I will show you just on the layout, it's easier to see. It means that if it's greater than camera.x minus 120, if it's larger than x of this point, so it will be anything from here to the right, then you can go back. But instead, if you are here, it will not move back because you're already at the edge. So we don't want that the spaceship will go out. We do the same thing for the right. We'll drag it with a control to copy it. We change here and shows less than, okay, and here we write plus rather than minus. Basically, we have mirrored the condition on the right side. Now let's see if everything works as it should be. And the camera is moving. I am going to the left, but I cannot pass this point. We can see that the image of the airplane is cut, so we have to insert a value that is smaller than 120. And here is the same. When I reach that point, I cannot move further. So we shoot normally as usual. Okay, let's see what we have to change. Maybe we change it to 110 pixels. Obviously, we have to change with the same value for every condition. So let's do things all in the same way, otherwise it will not look nice. Okay, 110 even here. And let's see now what we have. Okay, so here I am already on the left border. I cannot move further back than here, even if the buildings can reach that point, as you can see. However, I have that little bit of margin that it's okay to be there, so we can see incoming enemies and bullets to keep a little bit safe space. Same thing here from this side. Okay, so this thing works. I will do quickly another thing in a couple minutes before finishing. So let's see what else we can add to this project. Let's introduce a bit how to work with the layers. We go here and we rename this layer, or maybe let's create another layer first. Okay, we go to check which one is which. So we go on the building, so we can see they are layer 0. So we rename this layer to background. Oops, background, and the other one we rename it in game. Okay, so we go here to the spaceship. As you can see, the layer is a background where we want to move it on the layer game. At this point, we have now that the spaceship and the buildings are in two separate layers, so we can go in the future to create a parallax effect thanks to the use of different layers. Let's stop here for now before the video becomes too long. And next time we work on the background and the parallax. Maybe I will split the video in two parts if it's too long, and then we'll move to create the enemies finally. I remind you that all these assets are available in the links present in the comments. And if you are happy with this tutorial, please feel in consideration to buy them to contribute to the creation of more videos and also to use them to create your first game, of course. And thank you for watching. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye!